what's the future of the State Department's Global Engagement Center? With its congressional authorization set to expire, the GOP is celebrating its likely shutdown, but does the center have a loophole? Here to unpack this for us is Blaze News editor-in-chief Matthew Peterson and Gabe Kaminsky. He's an investigative reporter for the Washington Examiner. So Gabe, can you tell us a little bit about the Global Engagement Center and why it's going to be shutting down?
Yeah, so the Global Engagement Center is an office housed within the State Department that works with the likes of the Pentagon, the Department of Homeland Security, and other agencies. I believe I joined this program prior to talk about it. And the reason this office is so important is that myself at the Washington Examiner and other reporters, including Matt Taibbi through the Twitter files, had reported extensively on how the Global Engagement Center was involved in efforts funding outside NGOs that have worked in conjunction with social media platforms to suppress speech over the last several years. And so this major development that you were just referencing there is that the Global Engagement Center, which started in 2016, had an 8-year authorization. And until our reporting, there really hadn't been scrutiny on their activities, but we've really peeled back the curtain on their ties to suppress speech. And that has led, including other flurry of lawsuits and congressional oversight, that has led Congress, members of the House, Republicans to basically say they're not going to vote to reauthorize the Global Engagement Center, which means that barring them changing course, it is very likely that they would shutter in the new year, and they are planning to reallocate those employees to other agencies.
Gabe, it's a remarkable story. I mean, I love the fact you mentioned this first comes up with Taibbi in the Twitter files. You've done work on it. You guys have been targeted by the State Department, basically, for that work. You've been on the show before. Taibbi wrote a nice piece for Frontier about walking into Twitter's offices, our magazine, about walking into Twitter's offices and what that was like in the beginning. They had no idea what they would find. And I had occasion to think about this just because I was looking at this video series we haven't released yet, but we have sort of some drafts of, that's going through, walking people through the Twitter files. And my editor, I think, ends on the Global Engagement Center, sort of being discovered as behind a lot of this stuff. And now we're in a new world. I mean, I'll have multiple friends. We'll have friends at the State Department. And they're changing, and they actually are breaking and scattering to the four winds. So 2 points, and your response. One is, obviously, if you thought that everything was fine, everything going on was fine out there, right, these days, then you got to explain to me, well, Matt, Gabe, you guys are on the right, and you're exaggerating all these things, and this exists to counter misinformation. If that's true, why are they all scattering this stuff to the four winds all of a sudden, right? It certainly looks as appearance of guilt. Like, why aren't you saying, no, we're going to stand strong and counter Russian disinformation, damn it, right? There's something to that. I don't know if anyone out there who previously maybe thought this was fine is attacking them. And then number two, and probably more important is, does this mean that this all goes away? Or where are they scurrying off to? Because we should rightly be very nervous about exactly where they're going.
Yeah, so to address your first note there, I think that's super important because basically one could frame it perhaps as an admission of some sort of guilt. The State Department has faced significant scrutiny from this, not just from conservatives, from free speech liberals. And so basically, the Global Engagement Center had vowed to no longer fund the NGO that I had reported they supported, the Global Disinformation Index, which has blacklisted conservative media outlets from advertising dollars and still does so, by the way. And I think this is part of a broader pressure campaign that was launched. The National Endowment for Democracy, which is funded by the State Department, they also supported the Global Disinformation Index and NewsGuard and other entities that have worked to, in the minds of Republicans, suppress speech. They also vowed to no longer support some of these NGOs. So there was a whole pressure campaign against these groups. And to your second point, which I think is super significant, and that's how we should be thinking about this, is what is this going to look like in the future? And so there's a whole lot of employees, I believe over 100 who work at the Global Engagement Center. To be fair, some of those people probably double dip in other roles at agencies. The Global Engagement Center works with various agencies. Where are they going to be in the future? Is that going to be outside non-governmental organizations that basically seek to pressure the government to adopt policies to thwart alleged disinformation? Or are these sorts of employees such as James Rubin, who runs the Global Engagement Center, or Leah Bray, who helps to run it, who's heavily involved in these anti-speech efforts, are they going to be going to other bureaus within the State Department, Department of Homeland Security, the Cybersecurity Infrastructure, CISA, another agency? There's a whole lot of agencies. And so the Trump administration's OMB, you would presume, and other agencies are going to be trying to track this because these are the same people coming into this administration now who are saying that they want to track federal spending and target some of these partisan programs, were the same people who are raising significant concerns over the GEC and other agencies being involved in speech suppression. So I'm definitely going to be interested in trying to track where these people end up. And if it's at other agencies, presumably the Trump administration is going to be looking at that in conjunction with their broader effort to with DOJ.